My colleagues, are we set? Looks like it. Great to see everybody. This warm day, a little less smoke in the sky, I think, than we have had. That's been challenging, hasn't it? Wow. So anyway, it's great to see everybody. It's nice to see people here in the chambers, and I'm going to officially call to order the Kalamazoo City Commission Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, July 20th, 2026. First order of business, roll call. Clerk Borling.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Yes, she's back.
Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Commissioner Slaby.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. Next, communications, Manager Hankins.
None at this time, Mayor.
Okay, no communications now. So this is the opportunity for public comment at the Committee of the Whole meeting. And just a reminder, at the Committee of the Whole, the public comment time is limited to 2 minutes. Yeah, you can begin to come forward. And please state your name, whether you live in the city. You have 2 minutes to speak on topic of your choosing.
2 minutes. I'm going to come down here about 4 or 5 times then. My name is Sam Dixon, last name Dixison. And back in 2008, I was down here for a complaint, and I filed a Freedom of Information Act for having a DNA, because the crime took place at the Best Western Hotel in room 307. And I had submitted a Freedom of Information Act to get DNA and everything, and the ones who was down here, let me get the paperwork, who was down here was Mayor Bobby Helpwell, our Mayor David Anderson, Don Cooney, and Stephanie Moore, and the attorney was Clyde Robinson. So I filed this, and then the police officer, Richard McCall, he was a responding officer. He came down and found a black female passed out on the bed with a used condom wrapper inside the bed, and in the bathroom, a condom was found. Now, on June the 10th, 2008, the police submitted this information and everything, but they never submitted the DNA. They waited 18 months to submit the DNA for the crime scene. By them doing that, caused the prosecutor to do what they call a fraud of the court, and he told the jury that there was no evidence of a crime in room 307. And the reason it wasn't is because certain officers, I'm not going to mention the name, but I got a pamphlet where I can leave all the information for what I'm saying, caused me to do 9.5 years in prison. And then I had to do 2 years on parole, and now I have what they call a tracker on my leg that I got to wear the rest of my life. So what I'm asking is help to get my name cleared. Some people say, well, I should do a GoFundMe and get a lawyer to submit everything, but I said I'll come down here first to tell y'all the information in case it come up, or maybe y'all, we can resolve this situation and stuff like that, because like I said, I gotta wear a tracker the rest of my life, and then the person that committed the crime, he's no longer with us because he committed suicide in the county jail for this, because when they came at it, but when I had him during my trial, the prosecutor and the public defender named Nathan Tagg, and then the prosecutor's name was Steve Eidemer, told him to plead the fifth. Told him to plead the fifth, and he won't be incarcerated, or however you say, I can't pronounce that word, where he ain't got to worry about nothing. So that caused me to go to prison and everything.
So I'm just going to interrupt you here just a moment. Your 2 minutes are up now. You're welcome to share information with the clerk here if you want it to be passed around. And also, there is another public comment period at our regular business meeting at 7, just so you know that. Thank you so much.
So you said just leave the paperwork and everything with it? Because I definitely have it. I got a bunch of copies that's out.
Yeah, you can give that to the clerk, and he'll pass it out. Thank you.
Okay. I thank y'all for hearing me, though.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that would like to take advantage of public comment at this time?
my name and address, my name and city I reside in, Jody Dozman. I reside in the city of Kalamazoo. I've been doing some things and writing up some stuff that is just amazing to me, and here we go. May God bless a day to remember as a gift to man in the essence of Christ to win love. Peace will come later. 10:10 to remember life as a present, not criminal. Go to peace. He loves no one who hates him. Love Christ with all your heart. Your heart depends on it. Christ depends on it. Give grace to love. Star shuttles await. When, where, what, when. They win love, not comprehension. Give grace to comprehension. Trust depends on it. God trusts Jesus. Give grace to trust. In God we trust. Fair to win. Fair to trust instinct. Give me time and I'll show you what I mean. Keep the peace, it wins love. Take time to win. Cats love nobody who hates them. Catawaba eats shit. Gordy dishes out. Norm hates it. No peace. Win love. Catawaba needs it. Eat shit is something Jessica does when everybody dishes it out. She eats shit none at Mom's, Norma's quest to win Todd to Israel. Win love. Peace come later. I have more writings in here. Stuff about the event, the birth of a spaceship, but I don't have the time. I just thought I'd kind of touch base with some of it. I hope to be at the 7 o'clock meeting to read a little more. Time to play. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers that would like to take advantage of this public comment period?
Hi, my name is Sean Duty, and I'm actually from Oklahoma and moved up here to take advantage of the Kalamazoo Promise. I have a big family, 5 kids, and just coming from Oklahoma, I just came up here I want to say thank you guys for the work you have done and the work that's been done before. I was here one time, and I believe Commissioner Pradle, you mentioned that about 40% of the taxes, local taxes, are voted upon by the public and were approved by the public. I witness that all the time. In Kalamazoo, I was at the neighborhood, pardon me for chewing gum, the Neighborhood Association, Housing Association, and met a Stacy today, and just the number of resources that are available for lead abatement, from helping people that move into the district feel welcome, feel like we can connect to the community, and have resources that that the city is funding and executing. And I came from Oklahoma City, and in a suburb of that was very affluent, and we didn't have half the things that we have in Kalamazoo, with a very diverse and diverse challenges, and I'm just really impressed by it. So keep up good work overall, and just want to say thank you for the work you've done and the work they've done before you. So thanks.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the chambers who would like to take advantage of public comment?
Hello, my name is Michael Brown. It's nice to meet all of you guys. This is my first City Commission meeting. I just wanted to say, I take my dogs for a walk over at Bronson Park pretty much every day, and I see people, I see homeless people, I see people around all the way. I just want to see, some purpose. I see people, they don't really seem to have a drive, purpose, and I just hope that Kalamazoo has a wealth of funds, I know that, and I want to see kind of a housing, employment, mental health kind of system. I think when you combine those 3 things together in a system sort of just outside the box, it may help. I don't know for sure. I just know that I see it every day. It breaks my heart, and I want to see these people be productive and like have purpose in life. I just see it every day. I've talked to them. I talked to some today. They kind of expressed the same sentiments. So I just wanted to forward that to you guys. I think that's super important, and I hope the foundations in the city, you know, like Kalamazoo Promise and all the other foundations, I hope money can be put towards that end somehow. Personally, I would love to contribute. I think I could help a lot, but I do want to, that's just what I see. So I just wanted to express that to you all. You guys all have tough jobs, especially with a city like Kalamazoo. So just wanted to say that. I hope, you know, I hope we can find some synergy in a lot of the programs, because I feel like there's some disconnects between things. And that was, yeah, that's basically all I had to say to you guys. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Thurman Duncan. We got a park, Arcadia Park. It's been fenced in. I have very much concern about congregating and with the community. I have a lot of people following me every day, which is a good thing. They listen to my music. We go to Martin Luther King Park once in a while to celebrate certain birthdays, who the lady behind me on her birthday gives a lot of food away. Well, we got food, we got music, we don't have a park, Arcadia Park. Yes, I'm one of the homeless. Been homeless for 4 years, lived in my car for 6 years. I try to help out the people in the community around Kalamazoo, even though it's tough. I find put myself in predicaments where I try to protect others. I protect the lady behind me, who is a great cook. She cooks over in the other park, Martin Luther King Park. And she too also would like to see Arcadia Park opened again. And I'm here to try to protect people with, you know, with a little music, entertainment. Her cooking is great. And I'm speaking on her half, and I hope she does the same for me, because I would be there to help her with protecting her progress and she's wanting a new business, selling dows and free food if you buy a dow. And I just wanted to entertain them with, I'm not saying crazy music, but I have decent country music or whatever. Sometimes I share music with other people. That's how I got to know a lot of people in the 4 years, is sharing music. With that being said, please try to open the gate, pull the gate down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon or evening, how are you? Drew knows me. I'll try to make this quick. I want to start out with in Matthew 25. It says, you fed me when I was hungry. You gave me thirst when I was thirsty. You came to see me when I was in prison. Then Jesus said, the least you've done for them, you've done for me. And this is my purpose. I've also been homeless. I've recovered. I'm a recovering addict, and I know what they feel. I'll have 23 years. I was part of Bronson encampment, and I came and gave my service. I wasn't homeless, but I would have been. This is my purpose for homeless. Purpose. Restoration of dollars to teach our generation of our children in all ages to become great leaders based on Martin Luther King's legacy on a spiritual level. These dolls will also be used for mental health therapy. The name of the doll ministry is God's River of Beauty. Distribution for dolls, domestic assault programs, homeless shelters for children, senior citizen homes, suffering with dementia, foster care homes for kids and adults. Today, as the owner of these DAOs, I hope to continue this journey. And there's the DAOs, they support the homeless. God tells us to be a village, and it must start in leadership. I feel they were let down in Bronson Encampment because they were promised something. Today I'm learning that commitment is important. Leadership is very important. If we can't build a village, how can we just stuff our noses up that thumb?
Thank you.
And I would like to do that. And my idea was to ask for state funding because I'm a contractor and I want to be a leader in helping them get off and into the community. That's what they need. They need that love. And
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers who would like to take advantage of public comment period? All right, seeing no one else, I'm going to close public comment. I want to thank everybody that
You raised up, though. Yeah, he raised up. I think he was getting.
I'm just about to close it, so
Sorry, he was getting.
thanks.
My name is Montre Merritt. I'm just here to speak upon a situation as far as homelessness. It ain't everybody predicament right now. Some people just need space, but I just want to speak on the behalf of people dealing with real mental issues to be more supportive. People that's living in that little space for the time being, because man, the way people get treated, especially when they dealing with that type of stuff, is crazy. The image that people put out here be crazy, but I'm just speaking on that behalf because I just see that there's lack of support in that area around here. I'm not talking down on Kalamazoo because this is where I'm from, but I just see that this is a lack of support right there. And maybe people need to open their mouth more, but I see that some people it seems like they don't tend to care. And I'm talking about workers. Just because they living in a better position that they choose to treat people any type of way, that's not right. But other than that, Kalamazoo is a good city. I love it. Been here my whole life. I just wanted to try to get in touch with the city mayor as far as like trying to establish a day for everybody to get along, bring unity, show each other love, brotherhood and sisterhood type thing. I know it's a process, but I'm willing to speak on it, and I got some ideas and everything, and I would like to stay in contact with a couple people if that's possible. But I just pray over the city, man. Pray over the whole world, man. Especially people that's dealing with mental instabilities. But I thank y'all for this little 2 minutes y'all let me hear. But my name is Lamontre Merritt, Sr., and thank you for the 2 minutes.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to take advantage of public comment at this time? So seeing no one, I'm going to close the public comment period. I do want to thank everybody that took the time, made the effort to come down here, provide us with public comments. Just a reminder that our regular business meeting is at 7. There's an opportunity for public comments, which is longer. It's a 4-minute public comment period at our regular city business meeting. Now we are on to the agenda items for this Committee of the Whole meeting. Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a topic that we brought before you on the regular agenda, but we took it back as staff to come back and give you some time to share with you some updates. And so our Economic Development Supervisor, Bobby Boyd, is here, and he'll walk through what we have today for your consideration. And this is just giving you information at this point.
Thank you, Manager Hankins, and welcome, Mr. Boyd. See, you've got your support crew with you here, too.
I need it, yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be able to bring this information to you. I know we had no agenda before, and now we had some updates and some concerns we wanted to address. And now we've addressed those concerns and just want to bring information to you all in that capacity. So first off, at the Economic Development Corporation Board and at the Economic Development Division, we do have a social equity policy.
I'm going to interrupt just a second. This screen does not seem to be on. I don't know if the other ones are on or not.
This one's on.
The one facing us here isn't done. Well, if you can't find it, Scott, as long as the other two screens are on, that means people here in the chambers can watch, right?
This one's not on either.
And we do have a hard copy here that's just been distributed, so we can follow along in that. Is this one on,
This one's
Mr.
on,
Boyd?
yes.
Okay.
Are we good? We can move on with that one off? Okay, we'll move forward with that. So just as a background, so this is social equity policy. You all approved once over here back in 2020, a marijuana and social equity policy. And it went alongside the city's marijuana legalization and licensing framework that came in 2020 as well here at the state of Michigan. The update that we're looking at right now is just really to seeing how we can evaluate what we have seen over the years, over the last 6 years of this policy being in place. So what we really wanted to do was make sure that we started off putting it in place and what our framework was. But now that we've seen 6 years of that and seen how the industry has changed and the world has changed since 2020 was around the COVID era, we want to evaluate and make some changes that we think could be a little more beneficial in this policy. So just amend it as a whole, but still keeping the core priorities that the commission really cares about, which is social equity here in the city of Kalamazoo. Okay. As I said today, the commission, there's no action requested, it's just information, and we'll bring it back to you all at a later meeting to get voted on and approved. This is just to bring you information if you have any questions to address those and to make sure that it's really set forth your priorities as a commission here in the city of Kalamazoo as a whole. So some of the program outcomes, we started off with a contractor in 2023 for the cannabis world, Rebecca Collette, who did a great presentation to you all at last year to talk about some of the things they have done with the Social Equity Cannabis Chamber here in the city of Kalamazoo. It's a picture of her as well. So some of the things that worked well during our evaluation time we saw was that community outreach and education really did well in that aspect. Workforce employer education, KVCC tuition reimbursement, so we do have partnerships throughout Kalamazoo as well. Networking and industry engagement, and lastly, strong event participation and community partnership. So we did that extremely well. One thing that we may have struggled on or had challenges because the RFP was just so big and it was the first time really implementing that is some of the things we struggled on were on-the-job training reimbursements. Business retention services, especially in the cannabis world, because the first iteration was a real strong emphasis on just the cannabis industry. Home-based businesses, entrepreneurship development, a chamber membership structure, because we really wanted to become sustainable and be a standalone entity of its own, was our first fruition in the 2020 framework. And also cannabis business ownership workshops was another thing that we kind of struggled implementing in the first go-round that we definitely want to continue to work towards and improving on those processes. So what we're really focusing on now is really going from access to this industry to lasting economic impact. So with some of our evaluation, we looked at some of the studies from across this country to seeing what we can really do and implement here at our city to really create wealth creation or long-lasting economic opportunities, especially for our shared prosperity neighborhoods, which some of you all know the Edison, East Side, and the North Side neighborhoods. What we also decided to focus on is in this amendment of this policy was to expand it beyond just the cannabis industry. We see cannabis industry has gone through a lot of challenges and tribulations with some of the things that have come out from the state level, which some tax increases that I'll show you on some other slides as well. But being able to really expand beyond that and create wealth creation, especially for our social equity neighborhoods or SBK neighborhoods. So we broke down into 4 key pillars. 4 key pillars we're going to focus on here is access to capital and asset acquisition, ownership, retention, and growth, asset protection and transfer, And lastly is a cannabis business retention and education, because we will not abandon the cannabis business that we have here. We'll continue to work towards that. So some of the key takeaways. So as I spoke a little bit earlier, in 2022, in the 2020 focus in this policy iteration, it was really the onslaught of the cannabis industry as a whole within our state. So a lot of those focus areas were focused on industry access, help businesses enter the market, licensing incentives, and participation into the cannabis chamber for a lot of our SBK neighborhoods and individuals impacted by marijuana challenges and legal troubles as well. So our proposed and update is really focusing on cannabis industry still, but also expanding upon that, as you see here, focusing on long-term economic opportunity. We looked at studies from across the states and across the country, so it's not just us making this up for just Kalamazoo. These are studies that have been tested that we're going to try to build on. Help businesses grow and build wealth, licensing incentives and strategic investment, and also home and business ownership, investment, and long-term wealth creation. So while we're updating the policy, I said we had some challenges within the industry over the last 6 years since it's been implemented within the state of Michigan. One thing is where we heard from industry experts were that there's been an 85% drop in flower prices since implementation back in October 2020. So it has become a large challenge for a lot of our businesses here in the city and across the state as a whole. We also have oversupply in high competitive markets, so there's a lot of businesses in a small amount of areas. We see that in some of our communities next to us and also in our community as well. New financial pressures I tried to touch on as well is that in the statewide, we had an increase of 24% wholesale tax just this year in our state for cannabis businesses, which is going to take a tremendous hit to our businesses right now. And then there's also no social equity qualified cannabis businesses that has successfully opened and operated in Kalamazoo, which was a major priority in the 2020 focus when we started up the social equity thing. And there's a lot of challenges and reasons for that, but we definitely want to make sure we update the policy to try to tackle some of those challenges that we may have seen on why that had never came to fruition. So we're going to start with Pillar 4 because I definitely want you all to know that we're not abandoning the cannabis industry at all. We're still going to work with them. So we are still going to allocate 25% of our funds that we get allocated from taxes and businesses from the cannabis to cannabis business retention and education. And here's some of the examples that we're going to be focused on in that pillar with just supporting existing cannabis businesses. So retention services, regulatory and compliance assistance, because it is a cash-rich business. So we definitely know they need some help with some of those things for starting up. Technical assistance, industry education, and also some additional networking and resource connections to really build upon that, which we do well at this moment through our Social Equity Cannabis Chamber right now. So one other pillar 1 would be access to capital and asset acquisition. So what we really want to do is really remove the financial barriers to first-time ownership, which we see in these studies that in order to create wealth creation, we need to help individuals remove some of those financial barriers, especially in our disadvantaged communities or our SBK neighborhoods as a whole. So down payment assistance, business startup, expansion capital, commercial property acquisition, business equipment and infrastructure, and gap financing and capital access. In Pillar 2, we're going to focus on ownership, retention, and growth, which is really going to help owners keep and grow what they've built in our communities. So home ownership stabilization, business contracting and procurement opportunities, so they can get some of those high-paying contracts and keep them without the burdens in the way, like bonding and things of that nature. That becomes a huge challenge. Business growth support, ownership preservation as a whole. Pillar 3 will be, and the last pillar will be asset protection and transfer. So really protecting those assets and preserving wealth across generations. So wealth creation and generational wealth is something that we really want is pivotal to the commission when this is put into place. So we definitely want to make sure that we support that and make sure that we're successful in doing that here in the city of Kalamazoo. And those are little things like estate planning, wills and trusts, title clearing, and things of that nature. One thing I do want to make sure I share with you all too, we are going out to RFP process with this, so this is not something that we're all going to do inside the city with staff that we already exist. We will go out to RFP with individuals or programs that already exist and maybe expand those, or individuals in the industries that are really good at this already, and have them start off the frameworks. And then once we get something started up well enough, or we have a better understanding on how to do this and what resources we may need, we may bring it in-house eventually. But at first, we're definitely going to go to the RFP process to get this started and make sure it's delivering what we wanted to deliver at this moment. So one of the next steps, so information, this is an informational update. As I said, right now, there's no approval, there's no voting on it right now, just information for you all to know this is coming forward in the near future. The proposed commission action vote will be on the August 10th commission meeting. And also we have the RFP process that, like I just talked about as well. We're definitely going to move forward with that and have individuals be able to bid on those and hopefully be able to get what we're really looking at getting in this RFP round. With that being said, are there any discussion, any questions from you all?
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyd. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the creative thinking addressing how the market has changed, and we need to redirect our efforts. So thank you for that. Questions, Commissioner Slaby?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bobby. So I had a few questions. So right when you presented this, you talked about how you're broadening this scope to include more areas. I guess I'm not clear on what that means based on the proposed amendments to the policy. So beyond cannabis, can you speak to those areas or industries that you're talking about expanding to and what that actually looks like?
Yeah, so we're really expanding to a lot of things that really create wealth creation as a whole. So whether that's home or business ownership, whether it's help with buying equipment for your businesses. So it's not one specific industry, specific, but just individuals located in our shared prosperity neighborhoods that may have businesses in those neighborhoods, or individuals that may be from there that are looking at trying to start up a business, keep their business in business, or be able to offer, buy equipment that can maybe make it a little more sustainable or more efficient with their industry at the moment. So we're really trying to create wealth as a whole. So we're not industry specific, but just business and economic growth specific.
So because we're talking about amendments to specifically the marijuana social equity policy, that piece that you're talking about, that expansion to other areas or targeting people in neighborhoods that may be unaffiliated with that industry, where do we see that in writing as part of a policy? Is that a separate policy? Is that a separate program? Is that going to be added to the amendments in the policy beyond this draft? Because upon reading the amendments, I don't really see that piece covered outside of your presentation to us today, unless I've missed it.
So I'm trying to understand. So the question you're asking is, are we going to offer like training or technical assistance for individuals to understand what industry they may want to start up a business in and move to?
Well, I'm just stating, you in your presentation said we're going to expand it beyond the cannabis industry,
Yes.
but I don't see that expansion beyond cannabis industry codified in these policy amendments. So how do we track whatever that looks like moving forward? And maybe you don't have an answer for us today, but I just would like to see that maybe fleshed out, whether it's in this specific cannabis policy or a new policy or something else. Because it's not clear. You say that in this presentation, but then how do we come back and say how that expansion worked, or how do we measure the success in expanding it beyond that when it's not really laid out on what that looks like in this policy?
Okay, perfect. Yes, that's definitely something we will definitely look at in more detail and address. And we'll bring back an answer for you that, and definitely address that into maybe some additional language into the policy amendments.
And then my next question was about the chamber membership structure. It's a bummer to know that we weren't able to get that done, because I know that was an important priority originally, so that it wasn't necessarily the city doing it, operating anymore, that it would be a separate entity. Again, I don't know if I see that also laid out in the policy. Maybe it shouldn't go in the policy, but wondering, like, is that still something that we're pursuing as part of this RFP as a priority? And what are we going to do differently than we did this round to ensure that we are moving towards creating that separate entity, if that's what we want to do?
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, so this RFP, the first time around, it was one large RFP covering a plethora of things. This time around, we are trying to break it down to like 2 or 3 different RFPs where individuals with specific skill sets that could cover some of those things instead of one broad umbrella policy in that nature. So that's one way we're going to try to address that. At the chamber membership as well, we will put that into the new RFP that will be covering the cannabis aspect pillar area to see if they can start creating that infrastructure that can do a chamber membership type of framework. And we are going to focus on that. What that looks like, we're still going to flesh that out in the RFP and hopefully come up, and we are going to definitely come up with more measurables and more outcomes this time around. So we're working with my team right now to make sure that we have goals in mind and things that we can really scale and be able to measure long term now. And this is one way of starting up that process and creating a new infrastructure to do that from now on. So we will continue to work on that, but just getting it more fleshed out with a lot of new people in the department. A lot of us weren't here back in 2020 when it came about. So we're going to build it, and we're going to definitely make sure that we have things that we can show you all and deliverables that we all can be proud of.
Thank you. My last question is this. So I love the 4 pillars. I know that staff has been working on that for a long time. It's really exciting to see us look at wealth building and even just thinking about estate planning, ensuring that people have the stability in the community with focus on those 3 neighborhoods. When we think about social equity and how this policy came about with the cannabis industry, right? There's that huge piece of mass incarceration that occurred, which disproportionately targeted Black and brown members of our community through possession or sale of marijuana at that time, before it was legalized. And so the idea is that, you know, they have these records, or they had to serve time, and now it's legalized in Michigan, and now maybe some other groups in our community are able to take advantage of that legalization and profit off of that, right? So I guess when I look at these 4 pillars, I don't see that piece, which is kind of the driving force of these conversations around social equity, addressed. And I wondered, what would that look like potentially under Pillar 3 to think about how some of those programs and services that we would be funding would be expungement fairs or legal services or just expungement services beyond just an educational workshop. And so I'd love to kind of see how that could be a part of the RFP to provide services specifically for, and I know that this isn't an exhausted list, but I think because that is so important as part of this whole conversation, that it should be lifted up, because I do think that's still one of the major barriers and the major inequity. That is the inequity, that people were arrested for things that were illegal at the time, but now to be turned around and see other people profiting off the legalization of that and not being able to have pathways for reentry supported by the city. And we see this across the state and across the country. So I think since we're a community of first, that would be wonderful that that was a key component as part of this new iteration of the policy in the chamber.
Yes, I definitely think that is something we can look at as well. I know we have a lot of organizations right now that do expungement fairs and things of that nature, but it's definitely something that I think we can make sure we can take a look at, add to the policy, and that maybe in that nature to fund and help expand those already existing expungement opportunities and fairs that we have right now, with an emphasis on the cannabis type of convictions.
And, you know, just to add, you're looking at, you know, supporting a lot of these other pathways like home ownership, et cetera. We know that often, right, people with records are discriminated against, and there's often barriers in place through these, you know, variety of processes to get access to these other programs and services. So being able to have that as one of our focuses under these 4 pillars, I think, would allow us to address something that I think will come up as a barrier for us in terms of attracting people to get through these processes and being able to actually effectively help them beyond just a one-day workshop.
Okay, perfect. That's definitely me. I will bring back to the team. I do have an individual from our team back there, Erin, who oversees the social equity. So I know she's back there taking notes, and we will definitely make sure that we address all your questions, concerns, and comments in the next iteration.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaby. Other questions? Commissioner Pradle?
Thank you, Bobby, for being here tonight. Question for you. Was wondering, like, when we come back for the next portion in August, in the August meeting, would it be possible to see the cannabis revenue that the city's seen from 2020 to current? I'd be curious to just see, so as we're like thinking through or contemplating what does 25% put aside look like, I'm kind of curious as well. I admittedly, I haven't been able to see what impact since that 25% tax has had on the community. I know we've had a number of larger cannabis businesses, especially go out of business or downsize throughout the state or the region as well. So it'd be interesting to me contemplating this to imagine like how much money there is to work with in all these different programs, if that's possible.
For sure, we can definitely bring that forward. That's why I know historically, since the iteration of this, our 25% usually been somewhere between a $280,000 a year to about $350,000 a year through that tax allocation. So that's just a roundabout number, but those change every year. With this new iteration, with this 24% wholesale tax that we've had, we won't know those numbers till late 2027. We'll see what that impact really will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can definitely make sure we bring that to you as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then the other thing I was just curious in terms of what you're thinking with the policy as well. For the supports for businesses, so we talked about like the startup expansion capital, property acquisition. Would people who would be able to successfully apply for those dollars or to access those dollars, would they have to be city residents, or are they required to be city residents and business in the city, or could it just be business in the city? And I was just curious about if there's been any thought to that at all, about how, and maybe there's legal requirements as well. I'm not sure. Maybe Aaron could chime in as well, but I was curious if there's been any thought to that or what that could look like.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would defer to Leal in regards to how we can do that. I know my first thought would be just city resident, but I definitely not sure if legally if we can do anything of that nature.
It's tricky because you think like, okay, well, you could be a resident and your business could be outside of the city proper, but you're still bringing wealth as a resident back to the city. But then likewise, you could also argue the same thing about somebody who's investing with the business in the city, but maybe lives in the township, or that sort of thing. And so I know the geography focus would be on the core neighborhoods whenever possible, but that would still be possible in those two scenarios.
Okay.
We can certainly take a look at that and get back to you at the August 10th meeting.
Okay. Yeah, just so there's clarity, because I could see people, starting to get their wheels turning and thinking about accessing those dollars. I think the other thing these are just two comments I was going to make. I just applaud us for really thinking outside the box with us to keep this momentum going, making sure wealth generation is a priority. I know I was really excited about our economic development plan and how it was more than just the traditional like tax incentives for big employers and stuff to the community, kind of an economic development plan. It was really meant to just really focus on the mom and pop shops, our neighborhoods, really creating intergenerational wealth that doesn't exist. And so I think that really, to me, is a manifestation of that commitment. But also, I just wanted to know, I think it's great as well, because if you look at the two largest funders, philanthropic funders in our community that are supporting a lot of this work, both Stryker Johnson Foundation and Kalamazoo Community Foundation. Kalamazoo Community Foundation, their 4-pillar acronym that they've deployed last year or the year before was WHEN, and the W of WHEN is wealth, right? So that's what they're focusing on. The second one is housing. So, again, you're seeing that in this. And then for Stryker Johnson Foundation, same deal. They're really focusing on economic development, but from the lens of poverty. But they're also, so that alignment community-wide, you heard a resident talk about how we need to do a better job of that synergy between people who are doing this work. Well, here's a manifestation of that. The other thing I also wanted to make sure to just lift up as well, I cannot stress enough, like that down payment assistance is so critically important right now, especially for first-time home buyers. I mean, you think about all the hurdles and barriers that exist to, getting in a home, and sometimes like they're within reach of it, but it's just that initial, those initial costs to get into the home. It's tricky. The title clearing is another huge one that I see in my day job all the time. And the other thing that I was going to mention to maybe add to the list as well is legal supports for people with land contracts, because we do see quite a few people in the community in those scenarios as well. Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Boyd, for being here. I have to say, I was not a fan of the cannabis chamber at all, but what sold me was the social equity piece to it. And so my question to you is, why hasn't there been a successful business in your purview? I know you don't know all the ins and outs, but if you were to take a look, why hasn't that social equity piece been a driving force to make sure our community is doing what it needs to do, especially for those who have been criminalized by the system?
Great question. I'm not an expert into the cannabis world, but from my vision and some of my conversations that we've had with cannabis individuals, especially with my colleague Aaron here, some of the challenges we see is that a cannabis business is not privy to a lot of the incentives or other rebates and things that a lot of other businesses get. So therefore, if one individual, they're usually like cash specific businesses. So if one person makes one mistake in something, there's no keeping your business. You're just out of business if you don't have the cash to support that. There's no incentive or tax write-off or whatever it may be for the cannabis businesses, and that's more statewide. That's not just a city of Kalamazoo thing. So that's one of the things that hopefully when cannabis gets approved federally, we can be able to really tap into, those businesses can tap into those resources like other businesses can. But I think that is, and from my conversations, I think that might be the real barrier that we've been challenged with.
I guess I want to ask, as far as our internal city infrastructure, right? What are we doing to hold these businesses accountable to that social equity piece? Because that was very important, that these businesses were going to they're making good money. Mm-hmm. People getting rich off of this stuff. And yet we're not seeing the benefits within our core neighborhoods. And so what are we doing internally to ensure that we are holding those businesses accountable?
Yeah, so we do have a monthly meeting with our current contractor to see how that money is being allocated. So she does give us a monthly PowerPoint in regards to where they're investing their money at and how they're working with some of our core neighborhoods and what have they participated in. So I know we did some turkey giveaways and things of that nature on the north side and things like that. So we've been talking to them in regards to making sure that they're investing some of those funds in the areas we're supposed to invest them in. But from moving forward, we're definitely going to put parameters in place to make sure that we have stronger reasoning and deliverables that are that you all can see and can be proud of this next iteration of that. So to be frank, we just didn't have all those in place, and we've been working on making sure that those are all in place to really ensure that, but we're figuring it out as we go.
Thank you for that. And lastly, do you foresee in the future where this is something where we don't have to contract an outsider? Is this something that you can anticipate us having in-house, where those, I'm sure it's over $100,000 that we're paying the contractor. Can we do that in-house and ensure that those things are being followed by? Because we understand who we are in Kalamazoo.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely something that we have talked about as a team on bringing in-house. We definitely are looking at getting someone who's already doing this work to build up the infrastructure, and therefore, once we understand what it takes to have things in place, we really want to bring that in-house so that we have a lot more accountability within the city of Kalamazoo to make sure that we're holding true to our social equity policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Slaby?
Just a follow-up to Commissioner Hoffman's question. So I guess I just wanted clarification. We talked about, the first iteration wanted to see how we could create this as a separate entity ultimately through getting a chamber membership structure together. But also I've heard during this presentation that we're thinking about taking it in-house. To me, those are like two opposite things. So just trying to, maybe it's a set of these services are done in-house, and then there's another piece operationally that's done as a separate entity in the future once we get that started. But I mean, could you clarify that at this point? Because I'm just confused on what actually the direction is.
Yeah, so the direction is wanted to be a standalone eventually, but some of the things like workforce development and things like that in regards to economic development department, we're definitely going to try to bring in-house in that capacity. Some of the other cannabis-specific things, we definitely want a chamber to really focus on that and be its own entity eventually, maybe even beyond the city of Kalamazoo, maybe even the county in that case. But when it comes to some of those economic growth opportunities like workforce development and training and things of that nature, we definitely want to be able to learn from the experts that are doing it now and then start bringing that in-house so we can hold ourselves accountable to make sure we're delivering on those.
Okay, and then just one last question too. I know that we've focused on what we've historically determined as SBK, Shared Prosperity, Kalamazoo Neighborhoods, East Side, North Side, Edison. Have we, as demographics change across the neighborhoods, have we evaluated who is living in our core neighborhoods that include more than just those 3 neighborhoods? Like I think about Vine, South Side, Douglas. You know, have we step back and taking a look at, you know, are these the only neighborhoods that we want to target based on the demographics? Has that changed at all? Has income levels changed at all that would allow us to think about, we might be excluding people that we would like to support by still only continuing to focus on those 3 neighborhoods within the core of Kalamazoo?
It's a very, very good question. And it's definitely something I think we can look at right now. I have not thought about that, but now as you brought it up, that's a very good question. And I think an evaluation of that may be great to do as well. So we will definitely look at that and seeing what it takes to get that done as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaby. Other questions or comments, colleagues? All right, thank you so much. Seeing no one at this time. So just as a reminder for all of us here, so this is going to be back for action when it comes back to us again. Normally, our first meeting would be the first Monday in August, but it is not because there's an election day on Tuesday directly after that to Forest. So just a reminder for all of us, the meeting is being pushed back a week, but that gives us a little more time. I think there's been a lot of great questions answered, and I think as soon as some of those answers can begin to be compiled, it will be good to get those out to the commission rather than just including the responses in that commission packet on the 10th. I think that'd be an opportunity now, because we've gotten that extension, to have a little more kind of a back and forth kind of response and questions that perhaps, you know, will put us in a position where it is a more finished product, you know, when it does hit us for action on the 10th. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you all.
Commissioners, we have another special agenda item here, and it is to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation. So just a reminder for everybody here is that there are some small number of things that we are allowed by the Open Meetings Act to go into a closed session for us to discuss, and pending litigation is one of those items. So when we go into closed session, that it means closed. That means we will go to a different room and it's not a public session any longer. But as a further reminder is that we don't actually vote in the closed session. If we are going to be making a decision on the information that we hear in the closed session, that decision is made in public and that vote is taken in public. For example, at our business meeting at 7. So that all said, there is a closed session, and to go into closed session, we need a motion. So commissioners, is there a motion for us to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Slaby.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Hess. Clerk Borley, do we need a roll call on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradle.
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. So we are not going to be coming back out of closed session into this meeting. We're not going to be coming back and taking action during our committee of the whole. So in essence, then, will we be adjourning this meeting, Attorney Leal?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So at this point, the motion is made. We'll be going to closed session, and this meeting is adjourned.